order to continue to serve, in order to lead, in order to guide, in order to meet the goals and outcomes that you have deep inside for your organization or for your business or for your career, for your family, you've got to be willing to take in that external data and evolve based on who you are, but also where you're trying to go. This week on the Rutledge Perspective, we're going to talk about evolution. Evolution with a little e, not evolution with the big E. And the need for us to continuously evolve if we are going to learn, grow, serve, lead, to really be able to be responsive. And so many things have been occurring that brought this topic up that I thought this is a perfect time for us to talk about it, especially as we go into summer. It is outrageously hot here in Houston. And so we're having to think differently about how we move. And that also brought forth that whole idea of, we have to adapt. We have to evolve to our surroundings, to new thought process, new learnings, all of those kind of things. So let's dig in a little bit. If you didn't catch the radio show that was on, I believe it was June 20th of 2023, I interviewed a man named Devin Strahan, who has Devin Spiked Root Beer. And his story is fantastic. So I highly encourage you to go back and listen to the radio show. It's on my YouTube channel. And he built an incredible business and then lost his business and then has started this new business, Devin's Spiked Root Beer, which is a fantastic product, by the way, found in Total Wine here in Texas. And so he talked a lot about how through that first loss and the things that he wanted to do, but kind of hesitated to do, that led him here, how he has kind of changed the way he approaches pieces of his business. From that learning, right? We don't fail, we either win or we learn. And then I started thinking about all of the things that have been going on in my business as well, right? The radio show is 3, the podcast is almost 4. I just released my refreshed website. So please go to that, laurelrutledge.com, my refreshed website. And this is year 6 of the business. So really honed in on how I serve best to serve you and the impact that I want to make, putting out in the universe this $100 million foundation that I intend to build going after K through 12 education. And it got me to thinking, not only for myself, but for all of you, is what holds us back from changing? Knowing that we need to be able to evolve to keep moving, right? That fear that keeps us from putting something new out there, right? It was a lot. I was so excited about this website to get it going and to get it out there because it was so much more me. And then there were delays, there was all kinds of stuff. And then I completely lost my momentum, lost my excitement. And it allowed room for that doubt to come in. Well, is it going to make sense? Is it going to convert? All the things, right? But then I started thinking about BlackBerry. And for those of you who are not of a certain age, you may not even know what I'm talking about. But the BlackBerry was like the technology to have, right? And if you were in business, if you worked for a company, you had a BlackBerry, which was a different kind of phone, right? Smart device. Where are they now? Right? If you think about Motorola, that was the phone to have when cell phones got big. Where are they now? I think I just saw a Hello Moto commercial maybe 6 months ago. Where'd they go? Polaroid disappeared for a long time. Now, because we got this whole retro feel and vintage feel, you see Polaroid coming back. They got the cutest little cameras too. You see them coming back, that technology coming back. And we could go on and on and on, right? The analog phones versus the digital phones and all of the things that happened where organizations failed to evolve. They failed to change. And the other piece of that, for those of you who are in corporate, who are leading organizations, who've been in business 15, 20, 150 years, the other thing about evolution is not just about product, but it's about evolution of culture. It's about evolution of leadership. It's about evolution of how you show up and where you show up and how you treat people. Because there's only so far inertia is going to get you. I had the pleasure of connecting with some of my friends over the weekend, and which was so uplifting, and I miss them so much. And we started talking about a situation that one of them is in and some of the feedback that she was getting from a leader. And this person is a very senior person in her organization. And she was getting feedback from like a board member kind of thing. And as she was saying what this person was telling her, I could feel the heat rising from my toes all the way up through the top of my head. And I got hot. I got hot. And what I told her was, you know what? I said, here's the thing. I see that. That is not fooling anybody. Here's what they're prepping to do. They're being all shady about it. I mean, I was like righteously indignant for my friend. But it got me to thinking that culture of that organization has yet to evolve because they didn't have enough of an impetus that would make them do so. All of the bad behavior, all of the poor leadership, all of the shady shenanigans, hidden agendas, all that madness that was happening. The company was so big. The organization was so big. There were so many people who had been ingrained in that madness, in that lack of integrity, that there was enough of an amount, right? Enough people who were operating in that same mode that you could cover over for the negative impact and the ultimate long-term impact of that behavior, of a failure to be honest, of a failure to not rewrite history, of a failure to call out bad behavior and correct it as opposed to, well, they've always been that way, right? Of a failure to recognize that just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not real or possible. All of those things. And when you think about evolving organizations, those organizations that go down, those organizations that no longer exist, those organizations that get sucked up by other organizations, many times have just had a real challenge in evolving to meet the needs, the processes, the societal moves that are happening around them. They have insulated themselves so much out of protectionism, out of more worry about shareholders than stakeholders, all of the things that all of a sudden they wake up one day and it's like, uh-oh, wait, the world has left us behind and nobody wants to work for us anymore. No one wants to buy our stuff anymore. Right? We cannot sustain anymore. That inertia is now gone. And so the question that I have for you, for me, for everyone who's leading, for people who have careers that they love and they're building or businesses that they're building is, what is the barrier to evolving? What is the barrier to enabling ourselves to step out into that next thing that we know is the right thing to do? It is the next move. I mean, of course it's fear, right? That whole adage of false evidence appearing real. That's the latest one I think that I've seen. But it also says, you can face everything and fear everything and run, right? Or face everything and rise. That fear can keep us in comfort, can keep us in comfort zone. That's our nervous system trying to make sure we're staying safe. But in order to continue to serve, in order to lead, in order to guide, in order to meet the goals and outcomes that you have deep inside for your organization or for your business or for your career, for your family, you've got to be willing to take in that external data and evolve based on who you are, but also where you're trying to go. You have to be willing to launch ugly. Now, I will admit, I don't launch ugly well at all, right? Because in my mind, it is, you only have one time to make a first impression, right? That is what leads for me. But there's a lot to be said for just launching ugly. Folks who are innovative have no fear or very little fear of failing. In fact, they want to fail fast. They will put things out there, throw spaghetti up against the wall, see what comes back, and then adjust, right? They will evolve based on what's going on around them, based on what's happening to them. They are highly aware, right? They are observant. They are action-oriented persons. and they are willing to change, adjust, modify within reason, right? They don't give up their core, but everything else that surface, that is information that says, if my ultimate goal is X, then everything between now and X is open for adjustment. Everything has an opportunity to be modified as long as it's still moving me in the direction of where I'm trying to go. And so if we think about evolution and how we evolve, it is about, we are not the same people that we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 40 years ago. I am not the same person that took that first job in oil and gas out of college. I am not that same person that was willing to do whatever was needed to be done, right? Just to make sure that everybody else was happy. I'm not that same person that will sit in a room and say nothing. She has long since evolved into me. The woman who is willing to say, I've got a platform, and to whom much is given, much is expected. So we're going to talk about voting. We're going to talk about facts. We are going to talk about errors, right? And failures. And we're going to call them, and we're going to adjust, and we're going to do something different next time. The woman who is going to say thank you and stand in gratitude. The woman who's going to let everybody know, look, I've been in therapy for years and I love my therapist. And that whole relationship has turned from like that personal kind of madness you got to deal with to even more head trash around entrepreneurship, right? It has evolved. The relationship has evolved as I have evolved, as my life has evolved. And I have given space for that to happen. So if you are in an organization, what are you doing to evolve your leadership? What are you learning? What skills are you attaining now for the new world, right? Are you rejecting AI because of all of the craziness around it and all of the fear, the real issues around it? Because there are real security issues and safety issues around AI. I am not naive to that. There's some real opportunities for those with nefarious intent to really get at you through AI. And to get it at proprietary information. And how do we evolve to take hold of these tools that are now out there and use them as tools so that we don't get used by them, right? How do we evolve our thinking, our processes to decide, how do I take this thing that's a tool and utilize it in the best possible way to help me give more room and more space to the things that require me to do them, right? For me to ask the right question of the AI, for me to find the right support system in order to do the things that are not needed for my genius, but are needed for me to execute. How do we evolve from founder to CEO, right? Which is what I help my clients do. How do we move from doing it all to being the masters of the vision, the leaders of the direction, the setters of the expectations, right? And the mirrors of accountability? How do we evolve into those women, those men, those leaders? And we do so by being willing to change, by being willing to understand what is going on around us and embrace how that may impact our overall goals. And then take that in and butt it up against who we are. Because in order to evolve, you have to be really self-aware. You have to know you. You have to know you. You have to know that you don't have a poker face, right? You have to know that you love to learn and love to ask questions, but then that also enables you to get so much information in that you can get into analysis paralysis. You must know you in order to evolve so that you can make a conscious decision about how and where and when and if you're going to do things differently. And to be prepared for the consequences of your choices of staying where you are, of being stagnant. Evolution is not about giving up. Evolution is not about admitting failure or saying you weren't the right person or didn't do the right thing. Evolution is about seizing opportunity. Evolution is about understanding the power of change, the power of moving into your next phase, right? Your next act, as they call it now. The power of taking the gratitude and the knowledge and the facts and the truth and the I don't knows and moving that into, but you know what? That looks like it might be a good idea. So we're at least going to try it. Evolution is about courage. Evolution is about not you, but those people you're trying to serve. Evolution is about understanding that we are all simply one cog in the wheel of everything else that's going on. So as you move into this week and we move into the summer and we see all of these things that are going on, how are you stepping back and figuring out how you're going to evolve into the new things, whatever they are for you? How are you going to allow yourself to continuously change and continuously meet the next challenge? To move through and forward and around and over obstacles in order to change for the better. Because that change just may be sitting deep into something that you always knew, but maybe didn't appreciate about you or about others. Evolution isn't always about doing something different. Sometimes it's about the recognition that what you have is exactly it and you haven't been taking advantage of it. And now is the time. Evolution is about openness. Evolution is about being willing to see something different and understand something different and move differently because of it. So, how are you going to evolve? Send me a note. Let me know what came up for you when we think about evolution in terms of just move and change and growth. And while you're at it, go check out my new website. I've got the freebies up there now. We fixed the drop down, so you should be able to get to the freebie for some free inspiration and also be able to get to my 30-day shifting your perspective. It's $37 for 30 days, and you get a video every day and a little journal to really shift your perspective. Because if you shift your perspective, you can shift your circumstances. I look forward to the rest of whatever is coming in this new evolution of Laurel Rutledge and the Rutledge Perspective and Alignment Vision Action and all the things that I'm doing. And I look forward to yours as well. So please continue to load and download and listen and all the things. I really appreciate every time you choose to spend time with me. And if this made sense for you, please pass it on to someone else and head out to your favorite platform and give us a 5-star review, because that gives us an opportunity to reach more people. And tune in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Central Time for the Rutledge Perspective radio show. So we go deeper into some things then, and we always do talk about voting. So if that's not your thing, either tune in maybe about 5 minutes after the show starts. Sometimes I do it at the end. So, I try to bookend it so you won't get caught in the middle. And if you are listening from Global, let me know you're listening, because I like to do shout outs on the air as well. We do those every week. In addition to the shout out posts that I do, just to say thank you to all of you for tuning in every week. Have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for being a part of the village. I truly appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. You have been listening to the Rutledge Perspective podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and for connecting. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on my website at laurelrutledge.com/podcast. You can also find me on social media at Laurel K. Rutledge and/or The Rutledge Perspective. And I'd love your perspective on the things we talk about. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover, just let me know. And please share this podcast with someone in your village who may need this little piece of perspective today. And if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review on the platform of your choice. Apple Podcasts and Spotify reviews are particularly helpful. Thank you again for listening. Take care.